Before we begin, could we go around and introduce ourselves? My name is Councillor Eileen Taylor and I'm the chair of the committee and I represent Leeds City Council. I'll start from the left.
Morning everyone, Councillor Nicole Lloyd of Leeds City Council. Morning everyone, Councillor Lynn Masterman, Wakefield Council and Deputy Chair.
Good morning everyone, Councillor Fazak, Holding Council.
Morning everyone, I'm Councillor Jack Ferguson from Wakefield Council.
Good morning, Jo Sides, Independent Member.
I'm Brenda Monteith, Councillor from Calderdale Council.
Fiona Bernardo, Policy and Partnerships Officer at Wakefield Council.
Mr. Miller, Policy and Research System at Wakefield Council.
Good morning, I'm Catherine Johnson, Chief Finance Officer for West Yorkshire Police.
John Roberts, Chief Constable, West Yorkshire Police.
Tracy Braden, Mayor of West Yorkshire.
Alison Rowe, Deputy Mayor of West Yorkshire.
Wendy Stevens, Research Manager for Policing and Crime at the Combined Authority.
Damon Lawrence, Interim Director of Finance and Commercial Services at the Combined Authority.
Hi, morning. Rob Forrest, Head of Policing and Crime at the Combined Authority.
Morning, Trevor Lake, Independent Member.
Morning, Andrew Carter, Councillor, Leeds City Council.
Morning, Councillor Gwen Lowe from Kirklees.
Good morning, Councillor Anthony Smith from Kirklees.
Morning, Councillor Nusrat Mohammed, Bradford Council.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Chris Hayden from Bradford.
Becky McIntyre, Director of Resources and Transformation, and Section 151 have been providing the independent financial advice to the panel. Sharon Fraser from Wakefield Council, Legal Advisor to the panel.
And Samantha Wilkinson, Police and Crime Panel Officer.
Thank you everyone. Also thank Vicky for joining us today as guide us through the pre-meeting and also thank the other officers who sat up in the galleries. Item 1, apologies.
We've had apologies from Councillor Celia Hickson.
Item 2, approve current minutes from 13th of December. I take it all members have read the minutes. Are there anything?
I'll still move them that far.
Item 3 is to note on the agenda urgency. I have no urgent item. Any expression of interest is in the board to prepare for the meeting starts. No, thank you. It's item 4. We will go straight on to item 5, crime on council talks. So Tracy, now I'm going to you.
Good morning everyone, and yet again at Police and Crime Panel. I have no voice, so I'm obviously broken by my job, so apologies, and I might have to ask my Deputy Mayor to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but in the interim we are here to discuss the precept report. So if I may, Chair, I'll go over to Damon, who is going to talk us through the numbers, and then we'll maybe discuss the consultation. But over to you, Damon.
Thank you. Firstly, a thank you to the team that's compiled the report, to Catherine Johnson and the Police Finance team, along with Mark Broadbelt and Beck Spencer, who are recent additions at the Combined Authority, along with Becky McIntyre, who have provided some independent assurance. Whilst it is a joint effort, the report, I think the Combined Authority recognise that we're on a journey in terms of strengthening our resources and our processes to ensure that we have got total ownership of the assurance process and part of this report. And I'm confident that this will happen. We are gaining assurance by improving systems, processes and information. And it's really important that we work closely with the police finance team, and that has been demonstrated. However, there will be questions that arise that I might not actually know the information myself, and I will rely on colleagues to come in. The recommendations are set out in the report, and there's a recommendation for the precept level. There's information in the report that talks about the performance in year, and I think there will be questions that might arise that I'll be looking at colleagues that will answer some of that performance information. There's also details about the medium-term financial plan, and I think it's a really challenging situation that not only we face, but up and down the country everyone is facing, where we don't have a balanced medium-term financial plan. And even with any zero-based budgeting or participatory budgeting exercise where you're really looking at the component parts, it will be a very challenging environment moving forward. So with that, I think I will take any questions.
Thank you. And certainly what we've seen in the numbers is the shortfall, and that policing has been underfunded, as you've heard over the last number of times that we've been in front of you, that we want a safe West Yorkshire, and working with the police to ensure that we have the resources to deliver that. We are ambitious as an organisation to be innovative and to have the safest place in the country. Obviously that's a challenge given the pressures, but obviously it's for the panel now to ask their questions of Damon.
Okay. So thank you for the report, and as we noted in the book, and we all take everything on board. So, are there any members who would like to answer any questions based on?
Within the budget, you have built in an increase.
Councillor Carter, could you please speak?
Sorry.
To me?
Is it on? Yeah. Within the budget, you've built in an increase of 2% of pay. Despite the fact that in the public sector, in the councils, they are building in a 2.8%. If ultimately the increase is above 2% and nearer 3%, it will cost an extra £5 million. I would suggest to you you've got an inbuilt hole of 5 million, unless you think the government will bail you out. Is that correct?
I mean, I can answer this question. Yeah, as you know, for many years, the government has, we'll call it bailed us out, so they have allowed forces to fund 2%, and then they have funded above that increase. That's happened for the last several years, and I know that the National Police Chiefs Council are actually asking for greater than a 2.8% increase on the basis that they expect government to meet the costs of any additionality above 2%. So we shall see what the actual outcome is of the pay award conversations, and then obviously we will be part of the conversations with government to make sure that policing is supported in that way.
If it's like the NIC charges, you'll still be left in a shortfall. So what I'm suggesting is you are building in some level of black hole, and that's, in my view, not a very sensible budgeting.
Yeah, thanks. If I could just come in on the detail of the figures. So that pay award would take effect from September, so it wouldn't be a full year effect. So it's broadly 2.5 million. And we're really clear that would come from the Revenue Pressures Reserve, but we do think there should be pressure to fund that for policing for the level of resources. So we're quite content with the level of paid budget that's been built in, knowing that should that happen, we take 2.5 million from the Revenue Pressures Reserve, and we're assuming that that may happen. And where forces have built the 2.8% in, they've assumed that there's going to be a 1% increase in grant next year, which I don't think is likely, so we haven't. So there's a kind of trade-off between prudence, so we're very much in line with everybody else, and we do have that rollback plan should it happen.
Are you okay with that, Councillor Carter?
Yes, fine.
Yeah.
Not happy, but that's the answer.
Okay. Councillor Smith.
Is this on, Chair? It is. Thank you for the report and for all the officers' work that have gone into putting this budget together. I do note that again we are relying quite heavily on reserves again this year to plug deficits. And looking at the projections going forward, the pressures seem to be increasing. With the reserves, although maintained around 2.5%. Are we comfortable that that is a sufficient reserve in current year and years going forward? And I know that the range is recommended between 2.5% and 3.5%, but with the number of unknowns going forward, are we comfortable that 2.5% is adequate? And how do we compare with other similar forces in terms of those reserves? I'd be interested in your thoughts on that. Thank you.
If I could go to Catherine, thank you.
Yep. So we're comfortable with the 2.5%, and I'm really clear that if we were to try and take it above that, then we are taking resources away from policing in West Yorkshire that we shouldn't leave for the operational effectiveness whilst balancing risk. So most forces are in line with that, 2.5%. The bigger issue for us is that revenue pressures reserve. So you can see we're using 9.6 million from that reserve this year. But within this financial year, we have put in 6 million into it. So as soon as we get funding over and above what we require for something, we don't just allow it to be spent, we move it into reserves so that we can smooth out the impact of this. And with the priority-based budgeting programme that we've run for the last couple of years, in the plan over the next 3 years, we stepped down the use of reserves. So ideally, unless there's some things that come over the hill that you can't expect, which does happen, we're in a trajectory where we'll be able to get to a balance point, and I don't think there's many forces that can say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Trevor?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. My question's around it's a sort of strategic question around, given the plan and the aims and ambitions of the plan, in this budget it's showing a reduction on PCSOs of 50% by the time you get to the end of the period, about 89 a year, I think it works out in the detail. I'm just sort of querying, on top of that there's a reduction of, I think, 39 staff and retention as well. I'm just querying about the overall balance here, because it appears that, you know, if you're going to lose so many PCSOs, those roles have to be covered by somebody else. And how is that going to impact on achieving the plan when you are in fact reducing the overall resourcing, staff resourcing available to you?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. The reality of the financial situation that we and many of the forces are in, you might have read Essex's PFCC comments a couple of weeks ago in the national media, Lincolnshire's PCC making similar comments about the impact on neighbourhood policing teams, and that's one of the reasons why in December the Home Secretary made available £100 million towards the 13,000 target that she set in the manifesto for the safer mission, that we were going to have 13,000 more police officers, staff, PCSOs, specials. We don't know the detail yet by the end of that Parliament. So 100 million was released, and then another 100 million, surprisingly, was released about 10 days ago. So that equates to 8.5 million for us here in West Yorkshire. The cut to PCSOs is just over 4 million for the next 12 months. So we're hoping that when we put our plan to government, so we've got to complete a plan to government about how we're going to spend that £8.5 million. We're going to do that before, I think it got to be in about a week, or maybe a bit less, and then we will get permission to spend that money. The issue for us is, it's £8.5 million, that's great. We don't know if it's one-off monies, if it's recurrent, and obviously there are some criteria that they've set. I've seen that criteria, and I'm comfortable with that criteria because it allows us to do what we want to do: police officers, PCSOs, staff supporting, and the recruitment costs for to achieve that additionality. So it could be that we don't lose anything like the numbers in the plan, but the plan was written, the report was written before we knew about the detail of the 4.3 million as it was originally in December, and now 8.5 million as it appears to be. So let's wait and see what that looks like in the next couple of months, and then we'll come back and report it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt, Chair.
Sorry.
My apology. I'm just going to follow up to that question, if I may, because I had another concept. So some of the aims in the cross-cutting themes are things like effective partnership funding, community engagement, victim support, etc. And I think that the entire panel welcomes the ring fencing of the Community Safety Fund. But we also noticed that that fund has actually increased since about 2013, which has effectively meant cuts to those services. So with what you've just said in mind, could that Community Safety Fund potentially benefit from that additional funding, or are you comfortable that we have got the balance right, as Brian said, to in achieving that balance to achieve the aims of the plan?
So I should just point out, as Mark Burns-Williamson did many times, that Community Safety Fund is a gift from the Mayor to our local authority partners. It cements the relationship that we have and our joint endeavour to deliver those community safety objectives. It's within the Mayor's absolute gift to give that money or not, but obviously if she was going to increase that money, then that would mean a cut in one of her other commission services. And as about 90% of her commission services are the National Victim Support Service that the Regional Victim Support Service that she commissions, or the ISVAs, or independent stalking advocates, that would have a massively detrimental impact on victims and survivors here in West Yorkshire. So clearly that would have to be discussed with those commission providers, but also with the public who have told us in the latest Police and Crime Plan, copy now in your hands, they've told us that violence against women and girls and protecting men and boys who are victims is a priority for them too. So I think that we need to be working with our local authority partners on finding additional funding. So for example, Immediate Justice brought in £1 million, which we didn't expect to be able to bring in over 2 years, so it was £2 million, and as a result of that, the local authorities had big increases in their youth services, which was a great partnership. Safer Streets Fund, we've always shared that money with local authority partners. So it's not just that they rely on that pot, they rely on various pots that we're able to draw down, and also they're able to draw down additional funding based on our police and crime plan from areas that we can't bid for example. And then, of course, because we've got a mayor, she has got devolved budgets across a wide variety of arenas, bus service improvement money, for example, and she's able to utilise that money to benefit policing and crime, and therefore local authorities. The Safe Travel Team is one good example where those 16 PCSOs and a sergeant are supporting and protecting the public on the bus network, and that benefits every local authority. So there's a variety of ways that the Mayor can bring additional money, but the community safety income that she gives to local authorities can only grow if we cut something else, and I think that the public would look askance at that based on the consultation that we've just completed.
Thank you. I think that provides some valuable additional context. It's just reassuring to know that the thing is being looked at in the round and those competing priorities. And the question was just really about balance and whether you thought you got the balance right. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is about the challenges around the public consultation, and you know, given that there's been a 58% response rate, which is a 20% reduction, you know, the worries about validity and representativeness if it carries on falling below that. That's a 20% reduction this year. You know, it's a worry whether it's valid and representative, isn't it? And can we present it as such? I'm just worried about the robustness of the process and what can be done about it, really.
Thank you. I think it is representative and I think it is valid, but could I ask Sharon to come down and run the consultation to speak to this in more detail?
I think the data that you referred...
Just come and sit down.
Yeah. I think potentially the data you're referring to is in the online and postal consultation.
consultation, which Wendy will speak to. But the work that we did, which was the in-person work, was entirely designed to support the online and postal consultation. You will have seen from the results of that whilst we spoke to 502 people, the details around that are really robust in terms of we really aim to speak to younger people, and you'll see that a big percentage of the people that we spoke to were actually under the age of 39, and we aim to represent all the communities across West Yorkshire, so we worked to ensure that we had a really wide audience. And whilst our consultation, the in-person work, will give you a figure that we spoke to 502 people, what I can tell you is during the course of the 5 different events when we were out and about in high footfall places all across the district in sub-zero temperatures, people would genuinely wanted to come and have a conversation about the funding. So I'm really reassured by the work that we did this year, which was in person, because the work that we have done has allowed you to see the percentage support, but also in addition to that, it allowed us to have a much more in-depth conversation with all of the members of the public that came over. We were incredibly surprised that so many people didn't understand the council tax band that they lived in. That clearly had a major impact on how they then went forward and answered the questions that we discussed with them. And some people didn't understand the concept of the council tax and the precept element, so we had a really good opportunity to have a conversation and explain that. So I'll bring Wendy in to talk about the statistics around the postal and online.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. As we mentioned as part of the police and crime plan, if you remember, we were saying that there seems to be a bit of a malaise at the moment about online surveys and that sort of thing. So we wanted to check exactly what you were saying, whether this is statistically representative. So at 3.2.1 on the Appendix A, it talks about the fact that West Yorkshire has a population of 2.35 million, and to get a representative survey, so most of the surveys that you see that are published, so like the YouGov surveys, are what they call within 5% confidence error. So that is the result that you see. It could be plus 5% or 5% lower. And to get that, we needed 666 people to respond. So as you can see, we've gone well above that. So we are, as the Mayor said, we're confident that it is across, but we weren't happy with just the online. So what we've done on the paper is to break down the online and all the different parts of it. So you can see the ages and that sort of thing. Also the postal, so we do a postal survey that is ran to random addresses across West Yorkshire. So we're not just getting the people who usually pick up policing and crime, but it's anybody, it could be anybody in West Yorkshire. So we did that again this year, and we've got all the detail there. But then of course on top of that is Sharon's work going out, as she said, in sub-zero temperatures to try to get this. So yes, statistically we are there, but we weren't happy with just those numbers. Just one thing on the online survey, although the numbers are lower this year in comparison with last year, they are the same as the year before. So actually, although it is lower, it seems like last year might have been a spike, and that's what's caused that lower number. Just mention that.
Okay, it's good to see that there are it's a two-pronged test.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Again, just a quick follow-up question. Do you think that the extended window for engagement helped, and is that something you'd look to take forward into future surveys?
Absolutely. I mean, we took on board feedback from the panel, and as you said, we looked at what everybody else was doing, and absolutely, from our experience, as long as we will always extend a window to a maximum of what we can, because it absolutely did help. And we were still having conversations outside of those events after we'd finished that final event, because we were picking up on a few phone calls, because people wanted feedback in person that way as well. So absolutely.
So we started the survey this time earlier, a lot earlier, as you saw, but also we had planned to stop it to give us time to write this that you've seen. But actually, what we were thinking was, we want as many people as possible, so we extended the survey to the Thursday, as you can, the date that you've got on your paper. We had to have the paper written by the Friday so that it could be checked and everything before it was sent to panel the following Wednesday. That's how quickly we turned it around. But that's why, but we kept the survey going as long as we possibly could, give everybody opportunity.
Thank you. I think the panel appreciates that you listening to us and taking that feedback back. Thank you.
If I could just add, Chair, that my thanks to the team for standing out in absolutely terrible weather, talking to members of the public in order to deliver something that I think is pretty comprehensive for that time frame. So thank you. Just want to put that on record.
And just to say, I mean, I think it shows the passion of West Yorkshire communities that they were prepared to come and stand and talk to us. So that was why I wasn't interested in the temperatures, because I think it demonstrates that, because we were worried that members of the general public at the time of year that you're consulting, you know, may not want to talk to us, but they were very, very animated and wanted to have that discussion.
And there was a lot of snow.
There was, yeah, in Calderdale especially.
Tea. Did you have a tea?
We did.
And we get the Valley House as well. Lovely, thank you. Councillor Stevie, did you have another question?
No, thank you, Chair.
No. Okay, so that's all the questions. Are there any other members who'd like to ask any question?
Can I go back to the reserves position, please? I particularly wanted to look at the capital reserve, revenue reserve for PFI, where you have a constant 13 million plus throughout the medium-term financial plan. I want to understand how this is reviewed, when it is reviewed, and do you include things like building surveys and make an effort as to whether you've got the right PFI reserve there, because at some stage in the future, hopefully we'll all still be here, those will be paid back. And will it be enough when the bills come in?
Damon, do you want to take that?
I think Catherine will take that. That's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it's a good question because it's a big value of funds, isn't it? So we've maintained that PFI reserve for some years now, because when the government grant towards PFI drops off and our continued payments to the PFI provider increase, we will start to draw down from that fund. So we've built it up over the years, so we're in a position where we're not suddenly having a shock to the budget. We've got that there in reserve.
So you're happy, sorry, supplementary, so you're happy it's adequate as it is in this budget?
We review it every year, yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay. Any other question? So far, this
Chair?
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Just get my head straight on this. So in terms of the police officer numbers and staff numbers, so police officer numbers for the next 4 years, in the medium-term financial forecast, it's just maintaining the numbers as they are. No planned increase.
Obviously, the government has asked us to write a plan for the expenditure of the 8.5 million that's coming in, and the criteria includes police officers, PCSOs, police staff, recruitment costs, and any, equipment, etc., anything that's legitimately associated with bringing in additional neighbourhood policing resource. So it could be that one of the outcomes is additional police officers, or it could be that it's spent in a different way. Clearly, that's an operational decision of the Chief Constable that the Mayor and I will hold them to account for that decision making, because we want to see particularly PCSOs. What the panel will remember is that we have had an uplift of officers through the last 3 years of the previous government. And actually we've got a few more than, I think about 150 more than the uplift that was originally allocated because of the forces we recruit, the Met in particular. And in order to qualify for the reimbursement of the cost of that uplift number, we have to maintain that number in perpetuity. So it's called the cap, the officer cap. So it's likely that one of the reasons that we're looking to reduce staff numbers, that the force are looking to reduce staff numbers, is because they can't reduce officer numbers. Otherwise, whatever you lose in your officer number, you then lose in the uplift grant. So it swings and roundabouts, and that's why the impact has been on staff, including PCSOs. So for the Mayor and I, it will be good news if we can have more staff freeing up those officers doing grey roles so they can be more visible, but also PCSOs, which we know the public really, really appreciate, value, who are key in providing that intelligence to police officers, specialist officers, and also in giving that visibility that the public so prize. Just additionally, just to say that, as you know, that we've got the highest number of PCSOs per capita in England, because this is important for us. We've heard from you and the public that it's also important to you, so we'll keep a real weather eye on that and to make sure we keep that good position.
Yeah, so, sorry, can I just finish off now? Yeah, I just wanted to be clear on that. So, what we're being asked of today, based on this financial plan we've got here, putting the 8 million aside, is that 9 million from reserves to make it balanced, and a 5.6% preset increase to basically stand still where we are. That's a summary of where we are, is it?
Yes, and the medium-term financial forecasts includes a reduction going forward because there is effectively a structural deficit. So to stand still, so there's unavoidable costs to West Yorkshire Police through pay increases, national insurance and inflation rises of 43 million, just to stand still to next year. Essentially, government will only provide 22 million. The precepts will provide the rest minus the deductions that is unrecovered, and that gets to 33 million. So to stand still, I'm already 8 million down. So the plans ahead are to get rid of that 8 million deficit, which is reducing staff. And the only people I can reduce is police staff, not police officers. So that's where PCSOs will reduce and police staff roles will reduce to try and get to a balanced budget without losing reserves. So the key to all of this is there's insufficient funding provided through both the precept and national governments of all kinds to allow a force to stand still. So I'm still cutting.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much. That's summarised it very nicely. Thank you.
Basically, Travis just said, and in my first question, you're asking the council taxpayers for 5.6%, way above the rate of inflation even now, way above what local authorities are able to charge at 2.9%, plus of course adult social care for all the other services. And at the same time, you're facing the possibility of a 5 million plus black hole because of salary increases. And you're saying we're reducing PCSO, something you know, as you've said yourselves, the public of West Yorkshire value. Is that the message you're giving to us today?
What we're giving today is the assurance that if you give approval for the £14, that the balanced budget that has been outlined in the papers will be achieved. Clearly, we know that there is a risk to PCSO numbers, as has been outlined. We're putting aside the 8.5 million, but it's there, and actually, that there is hope there that something better is coming tomorrow, and we'll get the detail to you as soon as we know it. But the reality of the last X many years, I'm trying not to be political because I'm sure every government of every colour would have done the same. There has been year-on-year cuts to policing, to all public services, and we're living with the consequences. We're trying to fit our resources to the income that we've got, but there is a coherent plan, I think, in this paper for achieving the efficiencies throughout the next 3 years. The example of the last 3 years is that every year that we've identified a deficit, we've been able to meet that deficit and achieve a balanced budget, and so I'm confident that we will continue to do so. There will be some difficult decisions ahead, and it will be up to the Mayor and I to hold the force to account for the operational decisions that they take, the impact on the delivery of services to the public. That's our job. Your job is then to hold us to account for the way that we do that. We are where we are. We are where most forces are, but actually we're in a better position than quite a lot of forces. I don't say that to be complacent, but that is the reality. Every single public sector body is in a similar or worse position to the one that we are in today. And I think we're doing the best we can with the resources that we've got. And the bottom line is the public of West Yorkshire have said yes to the £14.
Supplementary, if I may.
You may.
So, do you think that, as according that 1.36 million spent on equality diversity posts is more important than lifting the number of PCSOs or keeping the number of current PCSOs?
If I may say, I don't think it's a question of either or. And as you know, my mission when I was elected 3.5 years ago to have a police force that reflects the community that it serves is incredibly important, not just to me, but to members of the public as well.
Sorry.
But
you don't have to answer that question. Councillor Carter, that wasn't in the paper, so you understand.
It's fine. But I know that you wanted to come in. John.
Yeah, more going back to your previous question, I won't enter into a discussion around percentages because we all know the percentages of the councils is far greater money it has for politicians. I suppose the other way of looking at it is this is a budget that's presented to you because of good prudence and good financial management over the last 5 years, certainly. There's still more frontline operational police officers and PCSOs in West Yorkshire Police than many other forces of a similar nature. And even with the proposed reductions of PCSOs, there's still significantly more, as the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor have said. So we fought as hard as we possibly can to maintain those frontline resources for as long as we possibly can. But yeah, it depends which way you present it, but there will be less people going forward if, you know, in the circumstances, but we need every penny of the precinct rise to make sure that that's not even less, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the responses there, because I think that's really helpful to put it in perspective. I think the next year, the next couple of years, is going to be very difficult, and it's interesting from the very, very in-depth feedback you've got from the survey and from the face-to-face meeting. You can see the drop in the support, which is understandable given the wider economic circumstances, which, watching the news and the feedback yesterday, may be even more difficult going forward for the rest of this year. And I think it was 58% of people supported it in the online survey, only 51 in the face-to-face. And I think that might be a difficult situation this time next year if further economic pressures come on people, which they're bound to through the year. And I think that, again, will be a very difficult conversation to have and for you to resolve next year.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised to know that actually we had a 64% agreement rate until we extended the deadline and then it came down. So maybe a lesson for next year. Also, if I just may add as well, that I do understand the pressures that the public are under financially. And it is my job as Mayor to grow the economy, to put more money into people's pockets. So, for example, the Mayor's Fair, there's lots of ways that I am trying to ensure that people pay less for the services that they whatever I can do, I'm going to try and make sure that people have more money in their pockets, because I know they're under pressure. But you will have seen the statements within this paper of people saying, I know the police are so brave, it is such a risky job, policing is becoming increasingly more dangerous, they deserve the resources that they need to keep us safe, and that people want to, them and their families to stay safe. So I think this is what we can do in these difficult circumstances, but I do know that our precept is one of the lowest in the country, so it's something that we want to continue to hold on to, but really appreciate the public understanding the challenge that is facing our society and prepared to, I think it's 27p on average, would that be right? To, you know, just to do their bit to make sure that our communities are safer.
Yeah, I just want to thank the panel for the question. I was going to ask it to sum up Tracy, but I think Trevor and you already do your summarization for us to debate after. So please can I ask you to leave the room?
Yes.
While you I just remind the members that we are in public session and we are continuing to
That's why she knows so much.
Okay, members, we're all alone again. So are we happy with the comments from the mayor and the others? Or do we need to go into other debates? Or what direction would you like to go? Later, or should we go ahead? It's all up to the members.
Sorry, Chair. I'm just trying to put forward my point of view. In November, the mid-term financial forecast, they base that on £10 per household. As soon as they're told that they can go to 14 by government, they do that, and that doesn't sit well with me. I know we're only talking pence, but it's the principle of the thing. It's like, they can have that, they're going to take that, and I don't agree with that, so that's just my point of view.
It also sits badly with our constituents or the general public that give them more and they'll take more. And you could talk all day on this budget. It's full of holes, pitfalls, things that aren't likely to happen, and it's very difficult, isn't it, to say, when you hear the Chief Constable, to say, no, you can't have fight, very difficult. On the other hand, it's very difficult to accept a budget, and all of us, a number of us have highlighted areas, it's just not going to happen. And I think we need to be making some stipulations to the Mayor as much as we can, in let's face it, what's a fairly toothless organisation, but saying, you know, we do expect certain things to happen. You know, there's one thing I want to see happen. I want to see some stepping up in terms of protection for vulnerable young people, girls particularly, but boys as well. It's very badly with me to read headlines in a newspaper that says, and I said this at the private meeting, the police are ill-equipped to dealing with grooming gangs. That's not a criticism of the police, it's a criticism of something, not the police themselves, that's for sure. I think we need to set down our short menu of areas we want to see, to make sure that they have to come back next year and actually tell us if they've taken any notice of any of the things we've suggested. And one should be minimising the reduction in PCSOs, if not.
I agree with you.
We'll see if they get the money.
I agree with Councillor Carter.
I myself don't feel comfortable with the increase, especially in this day and age when we are living in a crisis of survival, and that's how the vast majority of the people of West Yorkshire feel at this moment in time. With regards to your comment, with regards to roaming ends, obviously it's an issue that has occurred in many institutions such as the church. So we as a society have to look within ourselves and see where we have failed those youngsters. And I think what I find it extremely annoying is that certain people in authority are labelling a small segment of the population when the majority of these gang-related incidents of crimes are white. And I think we've got to be very careful when discussing stuff like that and be fair and impartial. I totally agree with you, Councillor Carter, Andrew, that it doesn't fit well with me, the increase. We've had the same debate in our council chambers in Coaldale, and I expressed my views there. I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable.
Councillor Smith.
I'm going to offer a slightly contrary view to the rest of the panel, in that I broadly support the aims of the police and crime plan 23-24. And in order to deliver those aims, some of which include violence against women and girls, vulnerable boys, etc., the police need the resources in able to support that and carry it out. We've heard very clearly from the constable that there is a structural deficit. We have to accept the reality that no police force, no sector of public services has had a fair settlement from central government through general taxation in the last 15 years. That is just the reality of the situation that we are in. I am somewhat annoyed that they've taken the full £14, but I do understand why they've done it, because they want to mitigate as best they can the negative impacts of that structural deficit. So in that context, I will personally be supporting the precept.
I feel that for this, the budget, now it's been explained, has eased the Commission's more, but I agree with Councillor Smith. You know, I think there needs to be some recommendations put to going forward as well, but and I do appreciate £14 is a lot, and as we've discussed previously, a lot of families are living hand to mouth. But I still think we need that protection there, so I will be voting for £14.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can't put it as well as Councillor Smith did, very eloquently put, and I just agree with Anthony. I mean, like Alison Rose said as well, not wanting to get political. We have to remember the last 14 years and what we're trying to now achieve. So, yeah, I will be endorsing it. Thank you.
So I do want to continue with the diversity stuff. I think it's really, really important that we carry on doing that, and that's funded. I accept that it's been, without getting political, it's been really, really difficult for the last 15 years, and hopefully things will get better moving forward, but we can't just expect it to get better in, you know, a few months. So I'm I'm worried about accepting it, but I can't see any other solution really. And I was reassured about the consultation in as much as you can be, and I think I don't want the precept to rise in as much as it is, but I can't see what the alternative is in the short term, but I think we ought to be really, really clear about some conditions moving forward and what improvements we expect to see. So I will be supporting the
John,
No, I agree completely. I think we also have to reflect on our position within this and what decisions the legislation allows us to make and the impacts that may have. We all know, we're all well briefed on where we stand around this decision-making process. I think it's the what we ask that is really make a difference, and I think that's what we've really got to kind of discuss is what our requirements, stipulations, expectations, demands are in order to be able to be comfortable with our own part in this decision-making process.
Councillor,
Can I just, sorry. Sorry to be ambitious, guys. I think, with due respect, having listened to my colleagues and looking at the overall picture, even if we do refuse, there's only going to be a minute difference. So as long as there are recommendations, I'll be more than happy to go on.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I think raising taxes is always really difficult. That is, as I'm sure people are aware, that is an issue we're having in Bradford. I think for me today it was good to see that the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor are looking at real people. We have a difficult decision to make, as some of my colleagues have pointed out. It's not something that we're happy with, but we understand the circumstances. And I think for me and the people that I represent, we need to know that the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor are seeing the real people and the impact this is going to have on families who are facing the cost of living, and something as simple as bus fares. As a mother of children that attend school, when I'm budgeting, that is the first thing I put aside, is how much is it going to cost to get my kids to school. Now, that's just one example the Mayor gave to us, and if she is able to do something just for me at that front, that would then help me to kind of think, okay, that's increased, but I'm getting a little bit of help there. So I think it was really good for me to understand that she is seeing the real people.
Councillor Anthony.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I will be supporting this. I think the change from the £10 to the £14, there were reasons for that. I think the government have increased national insurance costs across the public sector. Unless it's addressed, this does amount to widespread cuts. We've got a deficit that we've got to deal with, and if we don't do it now, the knock-on effect for not doing it now is to continue down the years as making that worse, which has a knock-on effect of applying more pressure to the taxpayers in the future. So I support it. I'm very confident in the answers that they gave. I'm very happy with them. I think to describe this as a budget that's got holes throughout it is unfair. And I think the consultation, although not as good as previously in the percentage uptake, was still more than enough for me to have confidence that alongside my anecdotal evidence of my constituents who have had much more contact about antisocial behaviour in policing than have about concerns with council tax increases within Bradford. Putting that alongside the consultation, I think we should move forward with this, and it's perfectly well thought out. Thank you.
It's a very last sort of summary point, Chair. I mean, basically, as I said, being asked to support a 5.6% increase with a reduction in staffing numbers, PCSO numbers, to just basically stay still. That's the reality. The government policing grant increase was 2.78%, I think. And yet the precept has got to go to 5.6. like Lynn said, didn't feel comfortable. It's like, let's take it because it's there, and I'm not sure that's the right way in the people of West Yorkshire's interest. Having said that, I also agree with comments from other colleagues as well, and we don't have a great deal of power over what we do here, and it would just come back like a penny less or 5 pence less or something, and go through anyway. So I think the key is, as Joe said, about getting some conditions in that, especially I think elected colleagues, you've got to go back and talk to people in your constituencies are comfortable with that, what are we getting for this increase? Because at the moment there was nothing in the narrative, I think we said this in November, it was missing, wasn't it? What are we getting? And even if there was something about we're going to invest in artificial intelligence or drones or something, a little bit of something would have been nice to have, but it's just like doom and gloom. By the way, it's 5.6%. So I think we need something a bit more.
Thank you. I'm never one for increase, but when I saw £14, I thought that was way too much to put out there alongside the rest what the pricing. But listening to Alison and Tracy and reading the papers and looking at life out there, I just think it breaks down. Alison last word says pence. I know every penny does count, but it's only pence. And I will support this because one, we do need police on the streets. We do need to see police. We do need PCSOs. However, we do need to put some strict restrictions into this budget. And all, as Pastor says, because the government says to take £14, they take £14. Next year it could be asked for £16. We need to stop that. We need to look at the public, look what you're giving to gain something. And those are the restrictions I think we need to tighten down. But I will be supporting it this time because we do need the police out there because it is.
So I think we have to agree
what restrictions
or conditions. Right?
Conditions. Keep saying restriction, conditions.
I should make it clear. Sorry, Chair.
Should we do the vote first? I'm going to go members.
Chair, I think Councillor Carter.
That's okay, we're going to do that after
Okay.
Councillor Carter. But we'll do the vote first. We got members. I'll start. Trevor, we'll come round. Are you?
Okay, sorry, what's the question?
You're going to vote on it first, so we're going to ask you in favour.
You want to support yes or no?
Yes.
Support, veto or abstain?
Support, yes.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Sorry, can we just, because
Just
it's a
1 minute.
recorded vote, so I've written you all in order.
I'm going to call, all right,
You sat in a different place.
right.
Councillor Carter, do you support, veto or abstain?
Abstain.
Councillor Lowe?
Support.
Councillor Smith?
Support.
Councillor Mohammed?
Support.
Councillor Hayden?
Support.
Councillor Taylor? Councillor Sharp?
Support.
Sorry, Lloyd. Councillor Masterman?
Abstain.
Councillor Fazal?
Support.
Councillor Ferguson? Support. Josiah?
Support.
And Councillor Monteith?
Endorse.
Okay. So we have here 11 supporting, no vetoes and 2 abstain. So on that basis it is agreed.
Okay. Let's get rid of this now.
Yeah, 11.
Okay. Right. Sorry, Councillor. I was just waiting for the noise to stop. That's
No, that's okay.
No, it's your turn now. Speaking time.
No,
You did raise your hand to speak.
I did, but I don't need to now.
You don't need to now. So we are going to ask a recommendation. Is it recommendation?
We usually call them commitments.
Commitments.
Can I join a start of a 10 that we put in some commitment to maintain that reserve and see
Yeah.
that being the reliance on revenue from reserves being reduced over the medium-term financial plan. Words to that effect.
Could we put something along the lines of keeping PCSO numbers up? They are the public see. So they mentioned the reduction, but let's sort of try and say maintain what we've already got rather than reducing, if at all possible. That's
a commitment to maintain an increase.
Maintain an increase.
As funds are available of
yes,
PCSO.
yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Would it be prioritised?
Prioritise
Yeah. It's the operational...
Prioritise PCSOs.
Community policing.
Community
neighbourhood
policing,
yeah.
MPT, whatever you want, yeah.
And it's,
If you say community policing, you can transfer policing to solve that.
Correct.
Say PCSO,
I think you have to say
that's a
PCSO.
different thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Lynn's point was around PCSO.
Yeah.
specifically around...
Specifically, yeah, because they specifically said 50%.
Yeah. We're going to lose 89 in this
Yeah.
plan next year. 89 PCSO.
And we're already thin on the ground
Cut.
in different wards anyway.
If I may, I think it was clear from that Tracy cannot make those operational decisions on additional funding, but a commitment from the Mayor to work with the police to ensure that as many PCSOs are maintained and increased, given the available resources.
As one of her
as and when available resources available. Yeah.
Can they also make a commitment in terms of consultation that it's extended as it was this year?
Yeah.
And that they look to making it more far-reaching? Because I picked out in age it was 39 and under, and I think it needs to they need to look at how they can reach out to more people.
A wider demographic.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, just to clarify, they took a lot of credit for going early this year.
They did.
They only went early because the government gave them... No, because the government gave them the figure.
Okay.
That's the only reason.
Right.
So, we asked them to, but they said quite clearly, we will not go until we have
The
an
figure.
idea of the funding figure from the government. It came early this time than usually.
So they pushed
So
the
they
button.
went early, but it wasn't of their doing. And if next year it comes late, they'll go late again.
And so
From my understanding, having spoken to youngsters in my ward, in my area, in Calderdale, a lot of youngsters are not as pleased with the police. There's a lot of
Very young kids are like.
and I feel, Chair, and other colleagues, that there should be meeting with the young people as well to get their feedback.
That's a very challenging one. How are they going
There's
to
no harm in talking to youngsters.
They do, but they do. You have to, as a councillor, we provide the platform and invite the police. So it's you as a councillor to provide a platform.
We do.
And do they come?
They do.
But I just find it, sorry, very hard for the police just to go around.
No. In terms of when you have your stories, surely there should be a segment where, he's not asking too much.
It's not asking too much, but it's a platform for you to invite the police.
She made a point in answering my question about the consultation that more young people had been approached, and I intended to but forgot to ask why we've been concentrating on
And young people, they don't pay the council tax.
Sorry, I forgot to pick up on that. But yes, so in terms of that consultation, I approached young people.
I
Is there any other comment that is it took out again? Comment, any other?
Okay, so we've got something around the reserves about long-term resilience and adequately of revenue reserves with a view to reducing the reliance on those going forward.
Yeah. Maintaining long-term resilience.
Correct.
Can we add
We'll finesse all the wording before it goes to
could we add a sub reflecting on what we asked for last year as well about reporting back to us mid-year on the reserves?
Yes.
So that we've got a position of, during the year, not just next November.
Yeah. Good point, Rob.
A commitment to work with the police and to retain and increase. Did we say community policing, or were we saying specifically PCSOs? Specifically PCSOs where funding allows.
Yeah.
To ensure that budget consultation continues to be early. That's not right, but
the window.
Yeah, ensure a wide window, wide time frame, and that it's wide-reaching to all parts, not to all communities. So those are the three that you've raised. I don't know whether there was anything you wanted to bring in on priority-based budgeting at all, ensuring that savings are met going forward. Yeah, so we've got three there then.
So, yeah, no, I was going to say that we probably do need to, we can't just take it for granted, can we, that we're going to get that information and that it is important to us around priority-based budgeting because it's having such an impact on the budget process going forward. And I think it, you know, we're not going to get the opportunity at the next meeting to build it into the commitments, so we probably should have it in there again.
We've still not received any figures on it, have we? Just
No.
we had a generic presentation. When you look at the
process.
When you look at the budget savings, it's all in PCSOs, retention staff. It's just taking people out.
So we can ask them to provide updates on the outcome of priority-based budget as well. Do you want to link it into like contingency planning, efficiencies? Because that's what it's about. It's about ensuring that those efficiencies are met.
What we said last year was to assure them that required efficiencies are on track in line with projections to meet future funding shortfalls.
Yeah.
That was last year's.
That's it. Everyone's happy with that, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
After that, you'll be that out. Yeah, right.
No, I'll be there. Tidy up.
Nobody's crying.
Can we do it Monday? Work from Monday, so we can do that. Or do you need to do it this afternoon or next time?
thank you for your patient waiting outside. And I'm pleased to say that we have agreed on the budget, but you know you don't get anything without contributions. So Samantha will read out to you after the recommendations.
Okay, so the panel will put these into a report that they are asking for commitments around providing some updates on the outcome of the priority-based budget, as well as contingency planning to ensure that efficiencies projected are, or if efficiencies projected are not delivered. A commitment around reserves and the long-term resilience and adequacy of that, maintaining those, reducing the reliance on reserves going forward, and a report back mid-year on that. A commitment to work with the police, for the Mayor to work with the police to retain and increase numbers of PCSOs where funding allows. And also around the budget consultation to ensure that there's a wide window again and that it continues to be early, ensuring it goes wide-reaching to all communities.
Well, firstly, thank you to the panel for your considered approach and to support West Yorkshire Police. Thank you. I don't see any problem with the additional amendments. Thank you. And obviously, we will keep a really clear eye on PCSO numbers. It's important for us. But as you say, where the resources allow, and other elements of your request, and particularly that wider window, obviously we'll look at that as well and we'll respond by letter, Chair. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you. I'll just make it clear that we have 2 members in the budget. So just making it clear to you that all members fully support apart from 2 members. Okay, so let's move on to the agenda. Disappear now. Item 7, which is Tracy, over to you, response.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just a couple of notices. I gave evidence at the Select Committee for Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government on the 28th of January. I know that the committee understand how politics has changed and that devolution gives us a great opportunity to grow the economy. And I made the submission that whether it's London or West of England or West Yorkshire or the North East, that mayors are the key to growing the economy, and you can't get growth across the whole of the UK without growing our regional economies. So we made the case that mayors stand ready to deliver on the growth mission, but obviously we need the right powers and freedoms, and we discussed that at the Select Committee, what was needed from mayors to support their communities. We also launched the police and crime plan launch is the 24th of February. I hope all members can come, and it's part of the Violence Reduction Partnership Showcase at the Clough Hall Court in Leeds. So thank you for the feedback and reviewing the draft. It's a very welcome roadmap for the next few years. So really grateful, thank you. And please do have a read of the plan 23-24. So very important for 24-28 to get that right. Also, grant round 7 of the Mayor's Community Safety Fund that closed on the 13th of December, but a record-breaking number of applications, which is great. I think the public are starting to see that this money is available for them and their communities, so it's great we had so many. £1 million is available for projects which meet, obviously, our priorities identified in the draft police and crime plan, and the funds will be announced on the 17th of March. But thank you to all those community organisations that have applied. Also, if I may, Chair, dates for Grant Round 8 have been shared. The fund will open on the 2nd of June this year, close 4th of July. with funds awarded on the 7th of October, and all details will be available from the 2nd of June. But it's very important to us to reflect that these community organisations are so vital to our work, and to certainly the question that was raised by Councillor Smith about how we make sure that everybody is part of this desire for that safer and just and fair West Yorkshire, because it's a team sport. Can't do it on my own, so thank you for your commitment as well, and to the members of the public, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Any comment on Tracy's report? No? Thank you for doing what you're doing. Item 8, public decisions. All things will be on the website, the picture, both the police and police website. You'll see all the communication. Any action on the report? No?
It's nothing to raise on that. The action's complete.
Form of action's complete. So, complaint review panel, you've already the report and you've got no new complaints. That's done. Any other business? Does anyone have any other business? No? So thank you all. Just leave me to thank Becky for your attendance today, and thank you for your support, and thanks you to Tracy and her team for the work you're doing, and keep up good work. So thank you. So we all will be back here at 9 a.m. for some members, 9 a.m. and the 7th of March. See you. Thank you.
Thank you.